No, I'm gonna get them pants. Them pants hard.
Yeah. They shorts,
Wear a little
too.
black shirt.
They shorts.
I'm gonna get them. Nike leaf cutters.
Has anybody seen Fred? Oh. Hello there.
Hey.
How you doing? I'm Ryan.
Ryan.
So I just want you to, so I know you can't see him. You can only, right? Because he's camouflaged. But
What's
this
up,
is Fred
Chad?
right
How
here.
you doing? Pleasure. It's a
You in
pleasure.
nice mode right now? Because I don't want you to do to me like you do them girls out there now. Goodness gracious.
See, I thought that it being hunting season, she's in hunting season, be hair hunting, so I wore it.
Yeah, listen, whatever you decide, Freddie T, to wear, you get to wear, bro.
You like the J's?
I think you look extremely nice, Fred. I really like your outfit.
I appreciate it, bro.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Trust, limitless. Take a stomach, got pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant.
Alycia Baumgardner, this is Channing Crowder. This is Fred Taylor. I'm Ryan Clark. Pivot fam, thank you for pivoting with us. So obviously, whenever you're getting ready for these sit downs, okay, you want to read as much as you can, watch as much as you can. And so I'm watching all of these fights, right? And also the weigh-ins. And you talking big money, right? You get in the ring and you're absolutely ferocious. And then you walk in and you're so put together. How do you balance that though, right? Being that dog, but also having the femininity away from the ring that shows you can be both things?
You know, it's a perfect combo between being a beauty and a beast and understanding I can separate the two and knowing who I am in the ring is just an animal, someone who's worked hard, someone who's been in camp for 8 weeks. And then there's Alycia, who's the woman who wants to do her hair, her makeup, get ready, you know, be able to be vocal and speak, you know, uplift. And I love it because a lot of people are throwing off about it, and boxing is just one of those sports, it's a combat sport. Like, this girl over here getting hit, yes, but this one getting beat up. So, so it's a perfect combo. I love it.
That's a different thing, right? Getting hit and getting beat up, that's two different things?
Absolutely. I mean, you might have to take a punch to give two, you know?
And you say Beauty and the Beast. A lot of people lead, like when you start, you know, looking into you in different interviews, different things you had, people lead with the beauty. Mm-hmm. Without the beast, the beauty might not have been seen either. Like, do you like when people make it like about, oh, you're a beautiful young lady, more than, no, I'm out there whooping these girls' asses?
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things, you know, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but listen, if I didn't have the shirt on, the muscles would be telling, very telling.
Oh, you gotta take the picture with your little abs out now.
You know, listen, I do my abs, okay? But yeah, no, a lot of people could, you know, just look at a cover and be like, oh, she's just a pretty girl. But in reality, there's a fighter, there's a warrior behind everything, and she's a fighter.
You started wrestling at 4 and boxing at 8, so you've been in the gym your whole life. Kind of take us back to how it all got started. Like, what was that one thing that sort of prompted you wanting to go after this?
Yeah, you know, I come from a small country town in Ohio, Fremont, Ohio, and it was an opportunity that my parents saw before I could ever. You know, they knew this child was special, and my dad just knew that he had to have that push with me that I wasn't going to be able to give myself at that age. And I had boy cousins, so they wrestled as well. And he's like, you want to wrestle? I'm like, yeah, I'll wrestle. And then, you know, I started wrestling, and I'm like, yo, I love this, the competitiveness, you know, and the fact that I'm also wrestling boys just built this confidence as a young girl to say, you know, I can do anything. I didn't have limitations at a young age to be like, oh, you can't do this, you're a girl, you're in a boy sport. It was, hey, you work hard and you show it on the mat. So wrestling just built that confidence. And then that was over. I wrestled in middle school, and my dad's like, what about boxing? You want to try boxing? Big boxing family as well. And 8 is the age that you can start boxing. So I'm like, yeah, I'll try it. Again, I'm just going free balling this. I'm like, I'll just try it. I could do it, right? Go to the gym. Again, all boys, nothing new. Head down, though, working. And again, just started building that resilience. Like, okay, if I could wrestle, I could box. If I could take a punch, I could box. And it just built this resilience and this mentality of, I'm a fighter, I'm a woman, and I can do all things because nobody can tell me anything different. And so my dad just drilled that, like, you got to. It made me do it for some time too, to like hate it but love it at the same time, because I'm here today to speak about it as a world champion, and it's been great.
Were you kind of treated like a weirdo though, right? Because looking at our culture, right? You're a beautiful young black woman, and when we're kids, like when we're 4 and when we're 8, everybody's the same. Like we could all be outside playing with our shirt off and we all just look the same, right? And everybody's blending, and you're talking about being with boys, but when you get to high school, right, and other young ladies are doing cheerleading, or if they're playing sports, it's basketball, track, volleyball, and here you are into this different thing. How were you treated, or how did people see what your goals were as opposed to other young ladies your age?
Yeah, I would say I was treated with respect. I think it was, people had a sense of, this girl's different. You know, I was set apart in the most humble way. She's different. You know, boxing wasn't a school sport. This was outside of boxing, so this was something I was doing every day outside of school. And I think they just saw the work ethic that I was putting in every day. Again, I'm not your average girl just in boxing. And they're like, you know, this is different. But it was more of a respect thing. No one messed with me. No one, they really uplift me. Yeah. Just being in the space that I grew up in terms of Fremont and just the diversity. There's not much, right? There's a majority of what that is, and then the small community of our people. So it was more of just putting respect, like we got somebody. Yeah. We got somebody here that's gonna do something.
I love that.
Shoot, here we are.
We recently on the show talked about, his son just got to the NFL. You know, our kids play sports and everything, and talking about, like, you keep bringing up your dad. Like your dad was one pushing you. From 4, making you wrestle, from 8, I'm gonna say making you, but like that pressure, that balance, did that put any kind of, throughout the years, even middle school, high school, did that put pressure on y'all's relationship? Because we're being daddies, but now we're coaches, now we're motivators, now we're, you know, scheduling training. Like, did that put pressure on you and your dad's relationship?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. We definitely had like a father-daughter coach relationship. So it was like trying to separate all of it, but my dad was my coach, you know, really my life coach in life and just in the sports world as well. And man, I just needed it though. I know I needed it more than anything, but it did cause some tension, you know, growing up. You know, like I mentioned, my dad made me do boxing. I'm like, I don't want to do this. He was like, you want to work at McDonald's the rest of your... My dad would lecture me for hours, and I'd just be crying, like, are we done yet? But I just know, like, he was just instilling that work ethic, because he worked hard as a young kid to be here, to be in a position to take care of his kids. And so it just I never shied away from that. But, you know, he let me do me at one point. He's like, you know what? Cool, you got it. I'm like, all right. Yeah. You know, I'm thinking I'm living, you know, I'm 17. I'm like, I want to go to school for nursing. All right, did that. I'm like, yeah, that's not for me. So I went back to boxing, dedicated my life since then, but it was because of the work ethic and what he said.
Yeah, the hard work is something. You're the undisputed champ, right? Signed to 4 models, work with Adidas, right? We all have that moment when it hits us, like after we're drafted, like, dang, we're in the NFL. What was your, like, pinch me moment? Like, man, this hard work paid off, I made it.
Look, I gotta take a deep breath, because I tell this story many times. It's when I became a world champion, when I went to London. And just prior to that, I'm grinding. I'm grinding for years. You know, boxing is just one of them sports where you better stay in the gym so when they call you, you're ready. And I just knew that one day my work is gonna pay off. I didn't have the promoter, I didn't have the money, I didn't have the backing. I just had hard work. I had work ethic, that's all I had. If I showed up every day, something's gonna pay off. And I just knew that I had to just stay in the gym. And I remember getting the phone call. They're like, I remember sliding into my promoter's DMs like, hey, give me a shot. Just one shot. I'm going to show you. I'll prove to you. I got it. Boom. They called me. They're like, all right, we got a world title shot for you. 4-week notice. I already knew it was going to be one of them notices where it's going to be last minute, but I was in the gym and I'm like, I want this. This is my opportunity. Boom, we fly over to London. Obviously, you know, the odds are stacked against me. They don't know who Alycia is. I know who I am. I've been grinding. I had 165 amateur fights. You know, I'm just a small girl from a country town, so not everybody hearing me on the highest level, but I know what I'm doing behind the scenes. And so we get there, whatever. just the confidence. I'm just like, we're here now. You gotta soak this in, because baby, when it's gone, it's gone.
Yep.
And I just remember staring her in her eyes. I'm like, this is my time. This is my opportunity. And so the fight comes out, you know, the ring walk, one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Came out to Too Sexy. I'm like, yeah, we're here. And I remember the third round, my trainer's like, just throw the right hand. She's gonna walk right into it. I'm like, okay. Fourth round come. She walked right in, boom, hit her with the right hand. I felt the power from my dang feet all the way to the end of the punch. I'm like, damn. Hit her, right? She stuck. And that moment, it was just a release. Like, I felt like I came up from swimming underwater for so long, and I finally got that breath that I needed. And that was the moment for me where I always just recall, like, all that hard work, the tears, the pain, the suffering. I'm here.
Alycia, you know, you talk about that moment and the grinding it took to get there. Women's boxing is moving in a totally different direction. I mean, it's evident by the card that you will be on July 11th. You signed with Most Valuable Promotions now, Nikisa Bader and Jake Paul. What was it that went into you making that move, and then also putting something on the back end of that contract for retirement to continue to be a part of moving women's boxing forward?
Yeah, you know, my purpose with signing with MVP was to say, hey, I'm an equal. You know, I'm not just a fighter under a roster. You know, as a woman who's learned the business of boxing, who's learned what it is to have a business and to have a business mindset, not just a fighter's mentality, like, I'm just fighting. You know, they saw that vision, and they also took heed to my advice that I wanted to give. And we're building the sport as a whole. It's not just individual fighters. It takes a village, and they were able to take hold of the opportunity that we have somebody special like Alycia, and I know that we can cultivate together to really push the sport of boxing, not just women's boxing, but boxing as a whole. And you need the right person for that, and they got me.
The poster for the fight, though, did y'all really dress up in the gladiator outfits, or is that superimposed?
You know, I think they did a little AI with that one. But it was nice, though. I loved it. I loved it.
Cool.
They did a good job.
Yeah.
Alycia, the business of boxing you brought up, where like you're preparing to go whoop somebody's ass, or they're gonna about to whoop your ass. But then I've seen you post-fight, you wearing shades, and you're doing, like, is there any, like, how is that balancing the marketing, balancing the personality? And it's not like WWE wrestling, but you still have to keep your thing. But I'm still preparing every day to go really fight, but then I gotta sell a fight, then I gotta do this. Is it hard to do the business and also physically prepare?
You know, it was, in the beginning it was, but then when I took hold of, you know, you are your business. You know, I told myself, you are the promoter. No one's gonna love you like you love you. No one's gonna promote you like you promote yourself.
No doubt.
And it's just being authentic. It's being true to self. And people are able to see the personality. I have many personalities, boxing being one of them, and just, you know, those things that tie into it. But it's entertainment business at the end of the day. You know, people wanna know who you are, and they also wanna hear the story behind it. So there's so much to talk about, you know? So it's not just a fighter, but there's more.
When do you know, because you say, okay, my trainer say throw the right hand, right? She walks into the right hand, I feel it from my feet, I can feel the power. We played a sport where you had teammates, right? So if Fred runs over me, Chan might be able to get my back and get him on the ground. That's not what boxing is. Boxing, it's you against her. You know, I've seen you after the weigh-ins, put your belts on your shoulders, you talking trash, you face to face. When is there a point, though, where you could look in a woman's eyes and say, okay, I got her?
It's the moment when the weigh-ins come. You know what I'm saying? This is the moment before the fight. So I'm looking right in your eyes. I'm dead ass like this. In your shit, just like this. Because I know the mentality I have to have come fight night. And there's always respect, right? But I just know I have to lock in. And this is the moment where you lock in and you say, it's either me or her. And it's me. Because, baby, I want to win.
Yeah.
We defended our titles, you know? So it's just a moment of locking in and understanding I put all the work in already. This is the time we have fun. Because the fight night should be fun. You put all the work in, 8 weeks, you know?
Yeah,
So-
I've been punched in the face.
Yeah,
Though,
this dude right here, he messed with everybody, right? He said Jake is a YouTuber and he's not a fighter. What would you say to him if he told you that?
I would say, just like me, Jake was able to use his social media presence, and now he's using his boxing presence to combine the two, and I think it's great. Boxing is one of those things where it's going to tell on you before you say anything. So if he's putting in the work, there's nothing but respect for that, and it's just an opportunity for him to really showcase. I was able to fuse both worlds, and that's why I love the card come July 11th, because it's getting many different eyes in the sense of boxing fans, casuals, and people who never even watched boxing in their life.
And we went to Logan. I went to Logan and Floyd down in Miami. We went to
Jake and Mike's way in.
Jake and Mike.
Yep.
We went to. So I'm coming around now. Like, you know, I'm old. I don't understand the social media of things and how it's, like you're saying, it's melding together and all. The art and the anger, I wanted to ask you, because as I was watching your fights, there's times when you just seem like I'm just about to go and throw. And then there's times you have to have that art. I've asked other boxers. We've had a bunch. We had Bud Crawford. We had Errol. We had
Caleb.
Floyd on a bunch of times. We had those guys. Like, when is that point between I have to have the art of boxing now? Like, when is that decided? Is it during the fight? Is it before the fight?
Yeah, I would say it's during the fight. I mean, one thing about boxing is it's a sweet science. So you're figuring out your opponent in seconds. You're downloading the data. And now that I'm like, okay, bet, I see she don't like the body. Okay, bet, I'm gonna go back down to the body. Okay, now I know she's gonna be exposed at the top. So I'm just making these calculations where I know, okay, it's time. You know what I'm saying? Everything is calculated. At least for me, you know, I want it to look pretty too, you know? So it's a chess game, and just breaking down your opponent and saying, okay, bet, next round. And it might not even be the next round. It might go the distance, but it's also an opportunity. Okay, what can I work on in this moment? Can I throw the jab a little more? Do I go back down to the body? Do I throw the feint, then go do the 1-2? You know what I mean? So it's a chess thing.
As it happens, you know
As
it's
it
happening.
happens, as it happens, yeah.
Yeah, listen to that. You know what that tells me? I get put to sleep. Right? If I got to be downloading all that and trying not to get punched on, I'm getting punched on. Yeah, if
I can't scoop you either.
yeah.
Once you get hit twice, you want to scoop them. No,
Right.
It's better if you get punched in the nose and them eyes go to water.
Right, but you know how we have butterflies right before the game, and then it takes that first hit sometime like you locked in and ready to go. Do you ever have those moments? Well, you're going to be in Madison Square, and New Yorkers are different.
Yeah.
Like, do you get nervous? You have butterflies. What does it take for you to really get going?
Yeah, I would say I would have, it's a good butterfly feeling. It's adrenaline really pumping, like my heart pumping, like, damn, we made it. We here. We talked about this moment, right? I love that feeling though, because it just tells me what I gotta do and where I'm at. But once you, like you said, once you get hit, that goes out the window. Now you locked in. So I love the energy in New York though. I fought there before. They bring the energy, so that just like lifts me up as a fighter and keeps it going.
So the co-main that night, you'll be along with Amanda Serrano, who's now your teammate on MVP. But I want to talk about like boxing beef, right? Because rap beef is not real. We've had podcast beef. That's not really real. Because I've tried to see how real they wanted to make it, and nobody really wants to make it any realer than what they could do in film. You and Clarissa, though, y'all kind of have gone back and forth. And you actually said, I think you said you'd fight her at 147, I think it was. When you think about women's boxing moving toward the super fight, like we have Bud and Canelo coming up for the men, what would excite you about a matchup against, you know, someone in Clarissa who people see as one of the greatest female boxers of all time?
Yeah, well, you have to take heed to knowing that we're both in two separate weight classes, you know. That is, I think, everybody's super fight that they would love to see. You know, there's weight classes for a reason. And I know that with the fight coming up with Amanda and Katie, that's the winner I want. I want that fight. Just because I've seen these women grow and I've been able to watch them, and I think the best fighter would bring the best me. And those are the super fights that we want. You know, it's good to have this beef in the game because it gets people talking. And, you know I'm on my own lane. I know Clarissa's in her own lane doing what she's doing. But, we never back down from a challenge. That shows, right? We're both competitors in what we love to do. But, baby, I don't care who it is. I'm going to get in there and do what I do best.
What would a fight with Amanda look like now that you guys are both with MVP?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a conversation to be had. I think that, again, we're doing it for the sport. I mean, it's cool to be friends outside of it, but we want to make these big fights. These are history fights. These are fights that young girls are looking up to that are able to watch the sport of boxing. Shoot, it don't even got to be Amanda. It could be Katie, too, And these are the two women who've been at the top of their game. They're fighting again for the third time, and I want a shot at that. I want to see what that feels like.
Who did you watch as a kid? Who was the person? Because it's a different style of fight. Like I said, there's art and there's whoop ass. Like Tyson, I would say #1 whoop ass.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali was art. Floyd is 100% art. Like who do you model your game after anybody? And who was the people that you watch? Like, damn, that's boxing right there.
Believe it or not, I didn't watch a lot of boxing growing up, but I did take notes just from the persona and the personality of Mike Tyson, of who he was and just his dog mentality when he would get in the ring. Like, it was an eye thing for me. I'm just watching and not really so much mimic someone's style, but just the mentality. It's the mentality at the end of the day. If you got a weak mind, baby, you can't get in the sport. And it's going to tell you every time. And so I think when I watched Mike Tyson, it was just his mentality of his I don't give a fuck mentality. This, again, we punching people in the face at the end of the day. And I'm like, yeah, I like that dog mentality. I like that. So it was just more of that and more of, okay, how can I transition into who I am into the ring and make my own style? I'm a boxer puncher. I can box, I can punch, I can move, and those things. So it's kind of like my own thing, but it's the mentality that matters.
He was on the show and I was scared. Like, we sitting like this, I had my foot down on the ground the whole time because I was scared he was about to get mad.
You had your foot down because you were going to run or you were going to attack him if he attacked you?
You see my foot was turned away.
I just wanted to make sure the people knew you wasn't going toward Mike.
No, the sweet door was that way. And I said, if this man stands up, I'm hauling ass.
You wasn't getting nowhere fast in heavy-ass 6 rings. You know goddamn well.
I got on the 4s now.
He had to pivot on his
Alycia, have you, I know guys try to shoot their shot. Has there been a moment where someone who didn't know who you were, what you did, that just kind of tried to shoot their shot at you and kind of...
All the time. I mean, I feel like it's hit or miss, but like I said, the muscles kind of speak for themselves. So they'd be like, "What do you do?"
So how do you really balance
I punch people.
Right.
Oh, you know what? What'd you say? You need me, Jerome?
I'm going to check up out of
What's
here.
crazy is the men would be like, "Oh, I love that. Can you punch me?" I'm like, "Where is this coming from?"
Listen,
it's
what
very
we
odd.
have learned, Alycia, is we're in a day and age where people be about some freaky stuff. So
I'm trying to tell you, I'm like,
Okay, so how do you balance that though, like beast mode and the beauty in the beast? How do you find a balance?
yeah, balance is obviously the number one. You need that in the ring and you need that outside the ring. I have to look at myself as someone who's still reaching a goal. The work is never done. I feel like I haven't even reached the ceiling because there's no ceiling, right? And I understand who I am. I understand my assignment. I understand what God has me, where he has me and those things. So it's a time to focus. Like, I gotta lock in. I'm married to the game, so I tell people, I'm married to the game because there's so much more and there's so much that I want to accomplish and I don't need any distractions.
Right.
I only need people who are gonna support me, see my vision, uplift me, and that's what's gonna keep me going because there's so much more to tap into.
There's no goal, there's no ceiling, but how many more belts can you actually win? I don't know that much about boxing, but you got a fleet of them motherfuckers.
Yeah, for me, honestly, it's not even about the belts. It's not even the material things. It's more of the growth. It's more of, like I said, the mentality. To be in a sport like boxing, you have to know yourself. You have to know that what you're dealing with outside the ring, the sufferings that I've been through, the death of my dad, the trials and tribulations, like those are what builds me. And so when I'm able to get in the ring, that's the release that I'm getting. Like I got a lot of built up aggression, and coming July 11th, I'm able to release that. That's like my therapy, that's my sanctuary. So it's just more of the aspect of tapping into who I am, what God's called me to be, and how I'm able to release in such a way that it's changing people around me. It's uplifting girls. It's tapping into a mentality that says, hey, I'm facing doubt and I'm facing success. Which one are we going to choose today? You know, it's an everyday battle. It's a spiritual battle at the end of the day. And it's a deeper meaning on what I'm doing. Boxing is just the platform that I'm able to possess, but there's so much more. And so I'm learning that and growing through that with the sport that I'm doing now.
We all have girls, right? I have 2 daughters, and that relationship with my daughters is much different than that I have with my son. You know, you talk about your father, you spoke about him being like, we have a father-daughter relationship, we have a coach relationship. Channing actually just recently lost his father as well. When you have so much of your life interwoven with the human, on top of him being your father, how difficult was it for you to deal with his passing?
It still is difficult. I think it's a moment where you gotta just take day by day. I know people say that so like freely, but it's literally a day by day thing. And I know that with everything that was instilled as a young girl to an adult, that there was purpose in it all. There was purpose for the lectures. There was purpose for ass whoopings too. You know what I'm saying? And just the hard love that was needed. And I'm just reminded now that my dad wouldn't want it any other way. He would want me in the gym. He would want me working. Even when I got the call, I was in Vegas. I'm away from my family, you know? I'm in the gym, but that's what my dad wanted me to do. He wanted me to continue working, like no matter what, keep going. And so when I got that call to go back, I'm like, damn. It was like I had a sense of calmness and peace in a sense because I knew my dad wasn't suffering anymore. But it was still like, okay, I gotta keep going. And that's just the fighter mentality that I got. Just now I gotta take care of my family. Now I gotta be, you know, what my dad always said I was going to be, more than a champion, you know? So it's trying, but it's fulfilling in a way that's sustaining me to keep going. And this is where we are.
It's my father just passed less than a month ago. And you just brought up something that now you have to take care of your family. Well, now I'm the only boy of my generation. I had to become the patriarch with what you're doing as a female, but now you have to become that person in your family. How is that transition? How is that? Because for me, I'm crying. I'm going through my stuff, but then everybody's calling me crying. I'm like, I can't be crying when they're crying.
Yeah.
So now I had to step up to be that guy that my dad was, and now, but you being a female as well, and now being the matriarch of the family, it's how was that transition, and also trying to box, and also trying to market, and also trying to promote, and still, I keep saying it, whooping these girls' asses.
Right. Listen, like you talked about balance, you know, balancing emotions. I'm a woman at the end of the day. I have many emotions, and it's just one of those things. I got to keep praying about it, man. Listen, I got a big prayer life. Me and God, we like this, and I can only get through it if I'm giving it to him to supply me with the strength that I need to get through. I'm not perfect, and but I know that I'm sustained to do it. I know that I have purpose to do it. And I think that's why God's like, okay, bet this happened. You know, I can never question it, but this is why I'm going to equip you to do what you're able to do. And so I just take hold of that and just understand the position that I'm in, the posture that I'm in. I'm so thankful because it could be different. I wouldn't have anything, you know, I wouldn't be able to provide for anybody. And so I just remember, like, it could be worse. And I know losing a parent is probably the worst thing you can lose in life, but God has a way of doing things. I can never question that. I'm just figuring my way through.
Hey, bro. Man, if you want my money, start a food app where you're going to deliver the food to my house. No matter where I'm at, man, I'm tapping in. It could be any type of name. As long as you got something I want to eat, I'm in there.
Yeah, man, when you get bread, you don't know you're gonna have bread, then you have it. You need Monarch Money, because your accounts, investments, your goals, you gotta set that number out there, and Monarch Money can help you with all of that. They are that CFO of your personal financial goals.
Start building wealth with 50% off in your first year with Monarch Money.
With Monarch Money, you can track your spending and your savings and your investments effortlessly. And so now you can focus on keeping the main thing, and that's making your life goals a reality.
Over 1 million households use this. Why wouldn't you be a part of that?
And not only 1 million households, but it was named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025.
Hey, yo, I can't stress enough that financial stress is one of the top reasons that relationships fall apart. Monarch Money makes that conversation much easier because you know where everything is.
And all they got to do to get control of your money is go to monarchmoney.com. In your browser, use code PIVOT, half off the first year. That's 50% off the first year of you not having to argue with your lady, not having to argue with your man, having a good time. Monarch Money got your back.
And remember, that's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code PIVOT. Now, back to the show.
You know, we all play ball. We're big dudes. And so if we're talking to families, you're not that big.
Yeah, but see.
And he a little sickly too, but we No. But like, my bad. I'm sorry, you know, we always. But like, as family, and you're managing the family, you're talking to the family, you're figuring things out. And like, if somebody in the family gets, you know, they get a little loud, I could stand up 6'3", 250 and be like, hey, bro, chill out.
Yeah.
Can you're not a big woman, but they done seen what you do. Like, can you physically intimidate people? Like, hey, sit your ass down. You know what's gonna happen, Josh.
Very easily, the intimidation is there, but I think it's more of the presence felt. You know what I'm saying? Like, one thing about it, my family were really close-knitted. You know, we grew up, 7 of us in a 2-bedroom. Like, we're close, you know what I'm saying? So we never want to, you know, be outside ourselves, but we do get to talking. Yeah. The mouth will be flying, but we just have a respect for each other at the end of the day, and I think we all have a role on what we play in family and how we all can show up for each other. And so they respect what I do, my biggest supporters, and they always show out for me.
I watched you at the hockey game, right? And it started out and you were kind of like reserved, right? And you were cool and you were talking to the young lady that you were with. And then as it went on, you was like, get his ass. You know what I mean? Oh, he knocked it. You know what I'm saying? Like I could see you get more into it. What is it about competition that fuels you? Because you could see it. It wasn't even your sport. And as things went on and as things got more hotly contested, you got more interested. Right. What is it about competition that turns you up like that?
The thing about competition is it's a competition with self, you know? So I'm watching the game. I'm like, okay, listen, I know these guys, they're going back and forth. They're on skates. What we got? Back and forth. They got this gear on. I'm like, yo, they really got to put this work into, one, not get punched in the face with a puck or a stick. And I'm like, I like this. You know, I think it's just, again, that inner self. How big of a dog are you? You can talk a lot, but how big of a dog are you? So when you're either on the field, in the rink, wherever, like, it's just gonna show up and it's gonna illuminate. Yeah. People are gonna feel it, you know, and I think it's a felt thing, but the competition is it just tells a story about who that person is.
So your last fight was in September, right?
Yes.
September of last year. Mm-hmm. It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time in between fights. Like, when does you got the call to say, hey, we got this fight, but when does the real excitement kick in? Fight week.
I know it's been some time, but that time was necessary. But fight week is a time, you know, everything's happening. You're doing interviews, you're meeting your fans, you know, you're locking in on your weight. The fight week is the best part, because I'm ready. I'm over the training. I'm ready to fight, for real.
What's the process in picking your walkout song?
Man, That's a great question. Honestly, it's just the mood that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? It could be knuck if you buck. It could be it could be so many choices. I'm like, what energy do I want to give? And that's just a moment of pick something that's gonna get you going. Cause
You do
it's
it
like
the
in the
day
gym.
of?
Say it
Or
again.
you do it the day of, or you have a few options before, kind of?
Sometimes it's the day before. Because it might change. It might change for me. I remember picking my songs when I was fighting in London. I'm like, okay, I want this song for that, this song, and this song. So I had 3 songs.
Right.
And they all felt my mood in that given moment. So it's just be one of them things.
Wow.
Chan's song would be terrible, by the way. He would pick the absolute worst walkout song if he was a boxer.
It'd be some T.I. or some Pastor Troy.
He only knows Atlanta rappers.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm from
only
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
You know Atlanta dudes. I don't know if you know Atlanta dudes, but yeah, we only support Atlanta.
I'm not mad at Atlanta music. I'm not mad at that.
Hey, you seem like a purist, right? Like the fight game is pure to you, the way you approach it, what you want to get from it, but also what you want to give back. You avenged, your only loss, but afterwards there was the accusation that you tested positive, which you were obviously cleared from. How difficult was that for you to deal with, knowing you had done nothing wrong, but now there's this thing out that could smudge or besmirch the reputation that you had built?
Yeah, it was a trying time. I think it was, again, another trying time of who I am as a person, my integrity. And I have to remind people that as a young girl growing up, a black girl who had muscles, this was not normal to people. You know what I'm saying? I have an athletic build naturally. You see track girls, you see a lot of women, not a lot of women, there's few women that I've seen. And I used to be so insecure about that. I used to hate having muscles. I'm like, girls don't have muscles.
Really?
Hated it. And my mom be like, no, you gotta love yourself. These girls would die to have a body like you. I'm like, I don't wanna hear that. I'm a young girl with muscles. That's just in my mentality. And I had to grow to love myself in a way where my body is my body. God gave me this. This is God-given. So I had to relate that to already having the notion that I look the way I look, people already perceiving me a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Oh, she has to be doing this. I mean, she has to be. No, like, this is who I am. So it was a moment where I always wanted to defend myself in a way. You can't defend yourself against social media. It is what it is. But I just know who I was and what I overcame, a body image, and just like the double standard of a black woman with muscles. You know what I'm saying? So it fit the criteria for everybody else. And it was very upsetting because, once it's out there, it's out there. But, I was just able to really take hold of everything, my team, and just know that I did everything in my power to beat the case, whatever. And I'm standing here today with the same arms.
How do you, for young girls though, and it's rare we get this opportunity, that's not necessarily something men deal with. And for you, it wasn't someone calling you overweight or saying you were out of shape. Like, as you say, listen, at 31, they got women that'll go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to look the way that you are. What do you say to young girls, though, who are dealing with body image issues or body dysmorphia about loving themselves and what God made them to be?
Yeah, my message to them is, again, love yourself. Love what God has already given you. And again, it sounds so cliche, but you really gotta love yourself. You really gotta look at yourself in the mirror daily. I might not like this, I might not like that. But one thing about being an athlete, I can change that. Or someone who's in the gym, you can change the way you look. You can change the way you feel. It's how you feel at the end of the day. And I think that people are so influenced by the outside world and they don't know exactly who they're looking at to say, you know what, I actually love the way I look. I can walk outside and feel confident. I can wear a cutoff shirt because my arms look good today and not have to feel like you gotta cover yourself up. You gotta love yourself fully, completely, because you're not a mistake. You're not a mistake at life. You know, you're here for purpose. And when people really learn and lean into what their purpose is, they're going to have a better relationship. I had just recently went to Equatorial Guinea, Africa, and the kids loved my muscles. They're like, what are these? They're like they're touching my arms, and I just thought it was like such an amazing just thought that these young girls, young boys, they're looking at something they've never seen before.
Yeah.
You know, and they loved themselves and they loved what they saw, and it was like illuminating. So I just felt like it was, if they don't talk about it, they see it, they feel it, and they know it.
Speak about that experience. I went to Africa years ago. When I touched down in the motherland, I felt some sort of connection, right? Just from the history and the stories we've been told. What was your experience like there?
Yes, so I was invited to go to Equatorial Guinea for a fight there. You know, it was the last fight since Rumble in the Jungle that they were able to bring a fight there.
Oh, wow.
And so they invited me out. And again, this is my first time in Africa. And just the way you felt, just connected in some way. And what an experience.
Right.
Would totally go back. And again, my highlight was just going to the orphanage. You know, people might have thought these kids were suffering or have less than, but they were filled with so much love. And it just illuminated to me, like through me. And I'm like, this is why I'm here,
right.
You know? Mm-hmm. And just seeing them happy just in a circumstance that doesn't seem normal to us was just very telling on being thankful on where I come from and being able to go there. Just seeing the people and that they're living their lives just on. No social media, no phones, no nothing, just culture and family and love. It was a time. And I was so happy that I was able to eat some seeded fruit. I'm like, I love that. Because, you know, America has GMOs everywhere. But just eating it, the food was clean. The air just was clean. The water, the people. It was an experience to remember. And I know that that's not my first time. Mm-hmm. It won't be my first time going
Look
there.
at boxing.
You are continuing to ascend and sort of help female boxing transcend this box it had been put in. Let's say it's someone who has never watched you or any female step into the ring. And you were like, look, I need you to go pull up the highlights of these 3 women. What 3 women boxers would you tell someone who's never watched women box, who has a skepticism about it, to go watch?
It's a great question. So top 3 fighters,
Mm-hmm.
I would say 1, myself. I would say 2, Clarissa Shields. And I would also say just off the look, not the look, but the knockout, Ann Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Like that just plays in my head. Like when you think about women's boxing and you think about a knockout, you think about Ann Wolf.
You do.
And so I would say those 3.
You know, obviously Leila Ali came in with a lineage and a pedigree that honestly no other fighter, man or woman, can come in when Muhammad Ali is your father. But she did sort of bridge that gap between being a beautiful, feminine woman and a boxer, an athlete as well. You know, I know you said you didn't watch much growing up, but was she one of the people that sort of allowed women to be able to be seen as both?
Yes, I would totally mention Leila Ali in the top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
Just because, like you mentioned, just the balance that she gave to the world, not only because she's Muhammad's daughter, but because she had her own fight. She had her own person to do what she had to do for herself. And I would say that she bridged that gap. Even if I look back on it, like, oh, Leila Ali, she's a beautiful woman. You know, she was able to have this awesome career. You can't talk about women's boxing and not mention Leila Ali at all. That's a fact. And the fact that, you know, she told her father, like, hey, I'm going to do this regardless if you like it or not, just is a testament to just women's strength, women empowerment. And I was empowered through that to say, doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. If you're able to do it, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So if you can build your own super fight card, right? Dead or alive, male or female, where would it be and who would you be matching up?
So it would be at, It would be in Africa.
Okay.
It would be in Equatorial Guinea, Africa. You know, that's the motherland. And then I would say who I would be fighting. That's a great question. I gotta say Katie Taylor.
Okay.
I gotta say Katie. Bring the Ireland fans to Africa.
She's a dog too, though.
She is a dog.
She's a dog.
I love that though.
That's the main event.
That's the main event.
What about under you?
Under
Male,
me,
female?
yeah. Co-main, I would have to put Javante Tank with Shakur Stevenson.
Okay.
That would be the co-main.
She likes little people.
I'm crying.
Little light-skinned folks.
Yeah, she's like, you know, I want to ask Chan, and you never had to deal with this.
I'm done.
Chan, you never had to deal with this. So I do want to ask this question, right? So in football, it's almost a negative to be attractive or pretty, right? Because you make a play, one, if I'm playing against you, I can't let, especially if you got like nice hair, light skin.
I know.
Not
They're
you.
eating,
No, not
they eating
not.
you up.
Hey, he's kind of talking about me.
They eating you up.
But
They gonna eat you up.
would it be the same in boxing though, right? Like because you can transition both, right? And so like you get to be a part of a world that someone who isn't as attractive, someone who doesn't pay attention to themselves in that way doesn't get to be. Right? And so like when you walk in the ring, you know, like if I was her corner man, if I was the other lady corner man, I'd be like, you let this little cute girl whip you. You know what I mean? Like I would really, like, do you get
She
that?
out there fighting the rugrat.
No.
I'm trying to
No, this is facts. I already know people, first off, they already feeling some type of way. Like, damn, she look good and she fight good. I mean, damn.
Right.
Hell yeah, I'm gonna try to knock her face off. You could try, but yeah, no, that's definitely the notion for sure.
Yeah, I would be talking so bad to my fighter in the corner. I'd be like, you saw her at the weigh-in? She combed her hair and everything. Her edges was laid.
Right.
He got the baby
Now
hair
she got,
pushed back with
she
the
got the
double.
stitch braids in, that whole outfit code, rewalk. I mean, look.
She was dancing. You gonna let her dance before she get out here?
You see her abs.
Hey.
You see her. Go to her body. Something.
I'm gonna tell you what, I would be shining on my fighter. I'd be like, you know what, it's
Alright.
fine then. You don't want to fight.
That's so funny. Yeah, no.
You watch other sports? You like all sports?
I love all sports: football, basketball, hockey. When fitting in there. I love all sports because at first I was just in boxing. It was just boxing, and I'm like, I need to get outside of the box. I want to have conversations about sports. Now I can talk about football. Now I can talk about basketball.
Okay, well, who them dudes then? Who them?
Shoot,
You already
well,
did
shout out
top
to the
three
Eagles.
boxers.
Shout out to the Eagles.
Yeah.
That was a great game last year. I'm excited for football season this year. I think last year was so competitive. I'm like, yo, you can't knock the Commanders because they might come back last minute like they did.
Yeah.
Mess my parlay up. The Eagles doing their thing, just showing out every time, rooting for the Cowboys to do something.
Are you a Cowboys fan?
I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm here. I'm a fan of football. How about that? Because guess what?
On silver and blue.
You got the, I just noticed that you got the colors on, train here.
I'm a fan of football, but I cannot forget, I lived in Detroit for like 6 years, so I was a Lions fan for a little bit. So just seeing the Lions do their thing, I say, yo, listen, they the underdogs, but they showing up every time. And they had such a great season last year. I thought that was great to witness. Again, I love the sports. I love the competitiveness. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's trying to compete to that number one spot. And I feel like this year, with the drafts that they picked up, it should be good.
I got to ask you keep talking about competitiveness, and that made me think, like you're saying, you covered boxers. We don't see as much like behind the scenes with the female boxers as we do with the men, but the men always have some weird shit that they do. Wake up at 4 a.m. and run, or they, eat rhinoceros horn. Like, they have all kind of weird shit.
Remember when boy drunk his pee-pee?
He did what happened?
He put Pacquiao to sleep. When Pacquiao fell forward.
Margarito.
He did what?
He was drinking his pee.
Yeah, he drank his own pee.
He would drink his pee. He was like, because he said he would lose nutrients, and so he'd pee in his cup, and then he'd drink it so he could put the nutrients that his body had already told him he didn't need back in his body to see if his body reconsiders.
Couldn't eat some spinach or a protein shake?
Listen.
That's just nasty.
That's dedication.
I guess so.
That's dedication,
He's
Alycia.
dedicated to himself. Literally.
So if Derrick James told you, hey, drink your pee, it's gonna make you a better fighter, would you?
Man, bye. Ain't nobody doing that.
Is there any weird stuff that you do? I don't want to give out all the secrets, but is
No,
there any
I
weird stuff
wouldn't
you
say
do?
there's anything weird. One thing about it, I eat what I want during camp because I don't have issues making weight, so I enjoy that. I be having fun with it. I actually enjoy my camps. I'm not suffering like many fighters be suffering in camp. But I don't eat nothing crazy, and I definitely don't drink pee.
Do you have that OCD type thing where it's I gotta get in better shape. I gotta do this. I gotta do that.
Listen, I be coming off with so much energy. I got so much energy. I gotta go run. I gotta do something so I can bring myself back down. But for the most part, I got a good regimen going. You know what I'm saying? I write a lot. That helps me mentally. I think, again, like I told you, it's all mental for me. So as long as I'm getting I do journal, yes.
What has, because it's been recommended to me that I should journal.
You should.
What has journaling sort of helped you process, or how has it helped you process things?
Journaling has allowed me to process my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, really to hear myself talk. One thing about it, I'm gonna talk out loud. I might be talking in the mirror. I talk to myself, and I have to hear that. I have to hear it out loud because sometimes I just keep it in my mind, and it gets overwhelming. So when I'm able to write it out, it's a release. And then the best part about it is when I go back years later, I've been writing since I was like 7. I can go back and just remember, like, me and my dad went to the gym today and he yelled at me to do better. Like, those things are just the small reminders of the things I've overcame, the things I can remember, the memories. And it's a memory thing for me too, because I used to work in a nursing home. Something I did before I was boxing. Well, I was training and working. And just working in a nursing home and just seeing the elderly people like need help. There was one lady in particular who wrote, and she would go back and read just to remember her life, in a sense, and the things that she had experienced. So I'm just like, I want that. So she inspired me to do that too.
Yeah, this is a pivot real quick. What can we expect on July 11th? We all get to turn on Netflix. We all get to watch MVP. We all get to see you in the co-main. What can we expect to see from you on that night?
You're gonna expect everything you think you're gonna expect. And you know what I'm saying? There's no limit when it comes to Alycia Baumgardner, okay? That's one. And two, everything from fight week, from my outfits to my hair to the interviews to the weigh-in outfit to the way I look at weigh-ins, to the face-off, to the ring walkout. I got some exciting people in potential to walk me out. So it's gonna be a moment of time that I have been waiting for a long time. This is my moment. This is the moment for the world to see who Alycia Baumgardner is, who hasn't seen me, who's been waiting to see me, who wants to see me at the biggest stage. And baby, we at the biggest stage. We're at the Garden. And it's live on Netflix. And it's gonna be fireworks. And I've been training my ass off, and I've seen the progression. I love seeing the progression. I ain't even in my prime yet. That's what people gotta understand. And as an athlete who grows, who just learns like this, I'm a sponge. So it's just, okay, bet. I'm gonna apply that there, apply that here. We sparring today, so I get to apply what I learned yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just like the progression of who I am as an athlete, as a boxer. And a lot of people are gonna be able to see that, what me and Derrick James been working on, my defense, my offense, this motherfucking left hook. You know what I'm saying? They seen the right hand, but they ain't seen the left hook. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of them things you're gonna have to tune in live because, baby, you don't wanna miss it.
I love that.
Baumgardner in the Garden. So you spoke about your moment, your biggest pivot, right? We always ask our guests, it's that moment you can look back on and say, because of this happening, I am who I am today.
That's a great question. I would say my biggest pivot would be becoming a world champion, because that's where it started, but that's not where it ends. It's one thing to have a title, but it's another thing to keep your titles, and it's another thing to get rid of your titles and say, hey, I'm taking a challenge. I'm gonna move up in weight. I'll move up to 35. And looking back, I'm like, we can't be satisfied with that. I'm never satisfied as an athlete. So just the biggest pivot is just, okay, what's next? But still take hold of that moment, because sometimes I'll be forgetting the moment. You know, sometimes we've been moving through life as athletes and we forget, or we didn't really like take hold of that moment. But I'm learning that too, to enjoy it too. But yeah, there's so much more.
Well, thank you so much. We can't wait till July 11th. See your hand raised at Madison Square Garden on Netflix. Everybody tap in and watch the champ.
And still.
And still. Pivot fam, thank y'all for pivoting with us. That was so good. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yes.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On this vision, I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up.